There is a quiet moment when something feels wrong. Not dramatic, not obvious, just a subtle shift inside you. You leave a conversation feeling uneasy. You replay a single sentence in your head. You wonder if you said too much or not enough. And slowly, without realizing it, your peace begins to slip away. The Stoics understood something that still unsettles people today. Power rarely disappears overnight. It erodes in small moments of emotional compromise. Moments where you hold back your truth. Moments where you explain yourself unnecessarily. Moments where you feel guilty for protecting your time, your energy, your boundaries. This is how power is lost. Not through force, but through permission. Marcus Aurelius wrote that nothing can harm your inner self unless you allow it to pass your judgment. Yet modern life constantly invites you to hand over that judgment. To coworkers who test your limits. To family members who expect access without respect. To relationships that feel draining but familiar. This video is not about cutting people off. It's about seeing clearly where your power is leaking. Because once you recognize the pattern, you regain control. In the next few minutes, you'll learn 9 red flags that reveal when you've given power to the wrong people. These are not loud warnings. They don't announce themselves. They show up as emotional exhaustion, self-doubt, the quiet habit of putting yourself second. And just as important, you'll learn how to reclaim your power calmly, without confrontation, without resentment, without losing your character. Stoicism is not about being cold, it's about being unshakable. When your power returns to where it belongs, your life becomes steadier, your decisions clearer, your peace no longer negotiable. Let's begin with the first red flag. 1. They control your emotional weather. Pay close attention to how your emotional state shifts around certain people. If one comment from them can lift your mood or ruin your entire day, that is not coincidence. It is a transfer of power. You feel calm when they are pleased, restless when they are distant, tense when they are unpredictable. Your inner state begins to mirror their behavior. This is one of the earliest and most overlooked red flags. When someone controls your emotional weather, they no longer need authority, status, or force. Your reactions do the work for them. A delayed reply triggers anxiety. A sharp tone creates self-doubt. A look of disappointment sends you into mental negotiation. You start adjusting yourself emotionally before they even ask. The Stoics were clear about this. Your peace is not created by external conditions. It is shaped by your judgments about those conditions. The moment another person's behavior determines your inner stability, you have allowed them to become an emotional authority in your life. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop surrendering control. There is a difference between awareness and attachment. Awareness observes. Attachment reacts. When you notice your mood changing because of someone else, pause. Not to suppress the feeling, but to recognize it. Ask yourself quietly, why does this reaction feel automatic? What belief just got triggered? What meaning am I assigning to this moment? Often, the answer is simple. You're giving their approval more weight than your own alignment. Reclaiming power here begins with a small shift. You stop letting external signals dictate your internal climate. You allow emotions to arise, but you don't hand them the steering wheel. This creates space. In that space, you regain choice. You can respond instead of react. You can remain steady instead of absorbing chaos. You can keep your peace even when others are unsettled. When your emotional weather stabilizes, something interesting happens. People who relied on your reactions lose influence. People who respect your steadiness feel safer around you. And most importantly, you stop living in emotional anticipation. Your peace no longer waits on someone else's mood. It belongs to you again. This is the first sign your power is returning. 2. You over-explain to be accepted. Notice how often you feel the urge to explain yourself. Not to clarify facts, but to justify your choices, your tone, your boundaries. You replay conversations in advance. You prepare reasons before anyone asks. You soften your words so they land gently. This is not communication. It is self-defense. Over-explaining is one of the clearest signs you've given power to the wrong people. Because the moment you feel you must explain in order to be accepted, you have already placed someone else in the position of judge. You are no longer acting from inner alignment. You are seeking permission. The Stoics believed that dignity comes from coherence between your values and your actions, not from convincing others to agree with them. When you explain excessively, you are silently saying, "Please understand me, please don't reject me, please approve." And approval is a dangerous currency. Once someone realizes you need to be understood to feel at peace, they gain leverage. They may question your tone, your motives, your intentions, not always intentionally, but consistently. This creates a subtle imbalance. You begin shaping your decisions around how they will be received rather than whether they are right for you. Your energy shifts from clarity to performance. A calm boundary turns into a long explanation. A simple choice turns into a defense. The Stoic response is not silence, it is simplicity. Clarity does not require persuasion. Truth does not need decoration. A short, grounded statement carries more authority than a paragraph filled with justification. When you say less, you reveal more. You reveal confidence. You reveal self-trust. You reveal that your choices are not up for negotiation. This is uncomfortable at first, especially for people who benefited from your explanations. They may push, they may probe, they may ask why again. You do not need to fill that space. Let it remain quiet. That quiet is where your power returns. Because when you stop over-explaining, something shifts. The wrong people feel exposed. The right people adjust. And you begin to experience a new kind of freedom, the freedom of not needing to be understood in order to stand firmly in who you are. That freedom is strength. 3. You feel guilty for saying no. Pay attention to what happens inside you when you say no. Not the words you use, but the feeling that follows. If guilt shows up immediately, that is a red flag. Not because saying no is wrong, but because somewhere along the way, your boundaries became negotiable. You feel tension in your chest. You rehearse apologies in your head. You wonder if you were too harsh, too selfish, too cold. So you soften it. You add explanations. You promise to make it up later. This is how power quietly slips away. Guilt is often mistaken for conscience, but they are not the same. Conscience appears when you violate your values. Guilt often appears when you stop violating yourself. The Stoics understood that time and energy are finite. Every unnecessary yes costs you something real. Your rest, your focus, your ability to live according to your values. Yet many people were taught that being good means being available, that being kind means being flexible, that love requires self-sacrifice. These beliefs are convenient for those who take more than they give. If someone reacts with disappointment, pressure, or emotional withdrawal when you say no, that reaction reveals something important. They were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. Your guilt is not evidence that you did something wrong. It is evidence that an old pattern is breaking. Reclaiming power here means redefining what no actually means. No is not rejection. No is not punishment. No is not cruelty. No is information. It tells others where you end and where they begin. At first, this may feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to being the reliable one, the accommodating one, the peacekeeper. People may test your resolve. They may question your reasons. They may remind you of who you used to be. You do not need to argue with the past. Stand quietly in the present. Each time you say no without guilt, you reinforce self-respect. Each time you hold a boundary, You strengthen trust with yourself. And slowly, something shifts. You stop feeling drained after interactions. You stop resenting commitments you never wanted. You stop living as if your time belongs to everyone else. This is not selfishness. This is alignment. And alignment is where true power lives. 4. Their needs always come. First, look closely at the pattern, not the promises. Who adjusts their schedule? Who compromises their comfort? Who bends first if it is almost always you? That is a red flag. You make room. You stay flexible. You put your priorities on hold. And over time, this stops feeling like generosity and starts feeling like obligation. When one person's needs consistently come before yours, something important is happening beneath the surface. The relationship is no longer balanced. You're giving more than support. You're giving structure. The Stoics valued justice as a core virtue. Justice does not mean self-sacrifice without reason. It means balance. Reciprocity. Mutual respect. When your needs are repeatedly minimized, you begin to internalize a dangerous belief that your role is to adapt, not to be met. You anticipate their preferences. You adjust your tone. You plan around their comfort. Eventually, they don't have to ask. The pattern runs on its own. This is how power imbalance becomes invisible. You may tell yourself you're just being understanding, that they are stressed, busy, going through something, but understanding without limits becomes self-erasure. Reclaiming power here does not require confrontation. It requires recalibration. You stop over-functioning. You stop filling gaps that are not yours to fill. You stop making their comfort your responsibility. Then you watch what happens. Healthy relationships respond to recalibration. They adjust. They notice. They meet you halfway. Unhealthy ones resist. They push back. They accuse. They make your boundaries feel like a problem. Either response gives you clarity. When you no longer prioritize someone at your own expense, the relationship reveals its true nature. This can feel unsettling at first, especially if your identity has been built around being dependable, being easy, being the one who never asks for much. But Stoicism teaches that self-respect is not negotiable. You are not here to disappear into other people's needs. You're here to live according to your values. When your needs begin to matter to you, they begin to matter to the right people, and those who only valued you for what you provided will slowly lose interest. That loss is not a failure. It is a correction. As balance returns, so does your energy. So does your clarity. So does your sense of self. This is what it feels like when power stops flowing in one direction and returns to where it belongs. 5. They control you through approval or silence. Some people never raise their voice. They never criticize you openly. They never demand anything directly, and yet they hold power over you. They do it through approval and through silence. When they praise you, you feel relieved. When they withdraw, you feel uneasy. When they go quiet, your mind starts working overtime. Did I say something wrong? Did I disappoint them? Do I need to fix this? This is not communication. It is conditioning. Approval becomes a reward. Silence becomes a punishment. Over time, you start adjusting your behavior to avoid the discomfort of withdrawal. You become more agreeable, more careful, more attentive to their moods than your own values. The Stoics warned against tying your peace to what you cannot control. And approval is never under your control. When someone can influence your emotional state simply by giving or withholding attention, they are no longer just a person in your life. They have become an emotional authority. This kind of power is subtle. It doesn't feel aggressive. It feels familiar, especially if you grew up learning that affection had to be earned. Reclaiming power here begins with consistency. You stop chasing signals. You stop trying to read between the lines. You stop filling the silence with explanations. You respond the same way whether approval is present or not. Calm, grounded, unchanged. At first, this feels uncomfortable. Silence feels louder when you no longer rush to break it. But something important happens when you stay steady. The silence loses its leverage. Approval loses its grip. You realize that your worth does not rise or fall with someone else's attention. People who relied on this dynamic may become confused. They may escalate. They may test you. You do not need to engage. Your steadiness is the message. When approval no longer controls you, your behavior becomes honest. Your choices become clean. Your peace becomes durable. You are no longer negotiating your inner world for emotional rewards. You're standing on your own ground. And that is where real power lives. 6. You second-guess yourself. After interactions, notice what happens after certain conversations end. Not during them, after. You replay what was said. You question your tone. You doubt your memory. You wonder if you misunderstood something obvious. This is not reflection. It is destabilization. When interactions consistently leave you unsure of yourself, that is a red flag. Healthy communication brings clarity, even when it is difficult. Unhealthy dynamics leave confusion in their wake. The Stoics placed enormous importance on clear judgment, because without clarity, you cannot act with integrity. When someone causes you to second-guess yourself repeatedly, your inner compass begins to weaken. You stop trusting your perception. You hesitate before speaking. You look outward for confirmation instead of inward for truth. This erosion rarely happens all at once. It happens through small moments. A comment framed as concern. A question that subtly rewrites what just happened. A suggestion that your reaction was excessive or misplaced. You start thinking, maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I imagined it. Over time, this self-doubt becomes automatic. Reclaiming power here requires separation. You separate what was said from how it made you feel. You separate facts from interpretations. You separate your responsibility from theirs. A simple Stoic practice can help. After an interaction, ask yourself 3 quiet questions. What actually happened? What meaning did I assign to it? What choice do I want to make now? This restores order inside your mind. You stop letting confusion linger. You stop absorbing someone else's narrative as truth. Clarity is not harsh. It is stabilizing. When you trust your perception again, something shifts. You speak with less hesitation. You explain less. You feel grounded instead of reactive. People who relied on your uncertainty lose influence, and you begin to move through conversations with a new sense of calm. Not because everything is perfect, but because your inner compass is no longer spinning. This is how self-trust returns, and with it, your power. 7. You keep hoping. They will change. Hope can be dangerous when it replaces clarity. You tell yourself they didn't mean it. They're under stress. Next time will be different, so you stay, you wait, you give one more chance, then another. This is a quiet red flag. Not because people never change, but because you are ignoring what is consistently in front of you. The Stoics warned against confusing wishes with reality. They taught us to judge life as it is, not as we want it to be. When you remain in a situation based on potential rather than patterns, you give away power. You begin negotiating with your own awareness. You reinterpret behavior. You minimize disrespect. You explain away discomfort. Hope becomes a substitute for boundaries. And over time, this costs you. You stop asking whether the relationship is healthy now. You focus only on what it could become someday, but patterns are not accidents. They are information. If someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, that is not a misunderstanding. If they dismiss your concerns again and again, that is not bad timing. It is a pattern. Reclaiming power here requires acceptance. not approval, acceptance. You accept who this person shows themselves to be in practice, not in words. This can feel painful, because letting go of hope often feels like letting go of the future you imagined. But Stoicism teaches that peace comes from alignment with reality, not resistance to it. When you stop hoping someone will change, you stop waiting. And when you stop waiting, you begin choosing. You choose what you will tolerate. You choose how close someone gets to you. You choose whether the relationship deserves your energy. This does not make you cynical. It makes you grounded. Hope has its place, but never at the cost of self-respect. When you release hope that keeps you stuck, clarity steps in. And clarity is a form of freedom. 8. You sacrifice your values to keep the peace. There is a quiet kind of exhaustion that comes from staying silent when something feels wrong. You feel it in your body before you name it in your mind. A tightening in your chest, a heaviness that lingers long after the moment has passed. You didn't speak up. You didn't correct what crossed a line. You didn't say what mattered to you, not because you agreed, but because you wanted to keep the peace. This is one of the most costly red flags. When you consistently sacrifice your values to avoid tension, you're not creating peace. You are postponing conflict and internalizing it instead. The Stoics believed that virtue is non-negotiable. Comfort is optional. When peace requires you to betray your principles, it is not peace at all. It is self-abandonment. You tell yourself it's not worth it, that speaking up would cause problems, that staying quiet is the mature choice. But notice the trade you are making. Each time you swallow your truth, your self-respect weakens. Each time you tolerate what violates your values, your inner alignment fractures. Over time, resentment grows. Not always toward them, often toward yourself. Because on some level, you know you chose comfort over integrity. Reclaiming power here is not about confrontation, it is about congruence. You begin by honoring your values internally, even before you express them outwardly. You stop agreeing with things you don't believe. You stop laughing at what makes you uncomfortable. You stop pretending that something is fine when it isn't. This doesn't require aggression. It requires honesty. At first, this may disrupt familiar dynamics. People who benefited from your silence may resist the change. But Stoicism reminds us that harmony with others should never come at the expense of harmony within yourself. When your actions align with your values, something stabilizes inside you. You feel grounded, whole, uncompromised. That inner peace is not loud, but it is unshakable. And once you experience it, you realize something important. No external peace is worth the price of losing yourself. 9. You stay out of fear of being alone. There is a fear that keeps many people stuck long after clarity has arrived. The fear is not of conflict, it is not of change, it is the fear of being alone. So you stay. Not because the relationship nourishes you, not because it aligns with who you are, but because it feels safer than emptiness. You tolerate behavior that drains you. You accept dynamics that shrink you. You convince yourself that something is better than nothing. This is one of the most powerful ways people give away their power. The Stoics never feared solitude. They feared losing themselves in the crowd. When you remain in a situation out of fear rather than choice, you slowly betray your own judgment. You teach yourself that comfort matters more than truth. Loneliness feels frightening because it is unfamiliar, but staying where you are, unseen, creates a deeper isolation. You may share space, you may share time, but you no longer share authenticity. That kind of loneliness is heavier than being alone. Reclaiming power here means reframing solitude. Solitude is not punishment, it is not failure, it is space. Space to hear your own thoughts again. Space to feel your own emotions without interference. Space to rebuild trust with yourself. When you choose solitude over self-betrayal, you make a quiet but radical decision. You choose self-respect over familiarity, clarity over comfort, truth over fear. At first, the absence may feel uncomfortable, but soon something else appears. Relief. Your nervous system settles, your mind becomes clearer, your energy returns, and from that grounded place, you begin attracting different connections, not based on fear, but on alignment. When you no longer stay out of fear, your power is fully your own. Staying out of fear slowly reshapes how you see yourself. At first, the compromise feels temporary. You tell yourself you'll leave when things improve, when timing is better, when you feel stronger. But over time, fear becomes familiar. You stop asking what you truly want. You stop imagining a different life. You lower your expectations until they match what you can tolerate. This is how fear disguises itself as realism. The Stoics warned that when fear guides decisions, reason becomes silent, and when reason is silent, power disappears. You begin making choices based on avoidance rather than intention. Avoiding loneliness, avoiding uncertainty, avoiding discomfort. Yet discomfort is often the doorway to growth. When you stay where you no longer belong, your intuition grows quieter. You ignore signals, you dismiss inner warnings. You convince yourself that endurance is the same as strength, but endurance without purpose is not strength. It is self-neglect. Stoicism teaches that courage is not loud, it is not dramatic. It is the quiet willingness to stand alone if that is what integrity requires. Being alone forces honesty. There is no one to impress, no one to appease, no one to mirror your worth back to you. And in that space, something essential returns: self-trust. You remember that your value does not come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself. When you stop staying out of fear, you break a powerful illusion. The illusion that connection is more important than self-respect. True connection can only exist where fear is not the glue. When fear releases its grip, you no longer cling. You no longer settle. You no longer betray your judgment to avoid emptiness. You stand steady, even in uncertainty, and that steadiness becomes your new foundation. From there, every relationship becomes a choice, not a refuge, not an escape, a choice made freely. Every red flag you've explored points to a single Stoic truth. Your power was never stolen. It was surrendered in moments where self-respect felt harder than compliance, moments when guilt overruled clarity, when silence felt safer than honesty, when familiarity outweighed integrity. The Stoics never promised an easy life. They promised a grounded one. Reclaiming your power does not mean controlling others. It means refusing to let your peace depend on them. You begin noticing where your energy leaks, where your values bend, where your inner voice goes quiet. And instead of reacting, you pause. That pause is strength. In it, you choose your response. You choose your boundaries. You choose yourself. Some relationships will shift when you stop giving power away. Some will fade. Some will deepen. None of those outcomes are failures. They are adjustments toward alignment. Stoicism teaches that a calm mind comes from living in agreement with your principles, not from pleasing everyone around you. When your actions match your values, peace follows naturally, quietly, steadily, without effort. If one red flag resonated deeply, let it guide your next decision. Awareness is not weakness. It is the beginning of self-mastery, and remember this above all. You do not need to reclaim power from others. You only need to stop giving it away.